I mean, excuse me if I'm crazy, but that sounds crazy to me. You understand? I can't reconcile it in my mind. The whole world is filled with wanton madness, and evil is the rule of the day in the land. We got to admit that, and we got to turn to God for the power and the wherewithal to overcome these people. At least try peacefully. That's it. I mean, it's knowledge is power. That's a power that God has given you and I to do something about this. Just educate people, enlighten them, empower them, and let's go forth. Get us all together on the same page. The drops in the bucket start adding up quicker. They start picking up momentum. And it's the will of God being accomplished through human beings, exerting their power, their godly, God given power of knowledge and wisdom. That's it. And speaking, that's it. And just say, hey, look, I'm going to set you straight on this issue and that issue. Let's get into all the reasons why people are involved in so much escapism, why these so many vices out there. What's the main driver? You understand? Why do people want to run, not walk away from their so-called reality? Okay, that's completely insane from top to bottom, up one side and down the other, and then to the nth degree, and tell you, no, this is normal. This all makes sense somehow. Just go with the flow. Just keep on supporting this madness when it's obviously already down the tubes. It's not like it's going down the tubes. That's a good news, is that the rubber has to finally meet the road. And I'm starting to see some things. I see the governor of California talking tough on homelessness. And I see locally they're spending money on warming centers. I like the sound of that. Thank God. That's beautiful. That gives me a degree of comfort. I mean, I talk these things out with God. That's the only way I cope and contend with what I have to. I'm witnessing. My eyes are wide open, man. They have been for a long time. But it's evil that's ruling the land, has taken over America. I'm telling you. Okay. But, when I see any progress, I'm so happy. But, God and I have an understanding. He knows that in order for me to really be somebody, I have to be somebody in His sight. That's all that's really important. And the person I choose to be is the person that says, hey, I wish everybody on the face of this planet had it a little better, at least a little better, a lot better, medium better. That's fine. I'm fine with that. But at least a little better than me. Then I could enjoy more fully what I have right now without having any more. Okay? And would enable me to enjoy more if I so desired. That's who I want to be in His sight. And, I lay that fact bare before God and man. It's not virtue signaling. It's everybody has a right to be who they want to be. And that's who I choose to be. You don't have to be that person. Everybody's trying to put you in a mold. They got to put you in a shelf. It's, oh, you're this type. You're a lefty. You're a righty. This. Well, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I'll sit down. I like math, and I know how to do the calculations, at least on a computer I do. So let's, run the figures and see if I know what I'm talking about. See if I know how to define capitalism properly according to Adam Smith. Do I know anything about supply and demand? Do I know what I'm talking about? And how a civilized society should be working together, and we should making headway, and our currency is supposed to be going up in worth, not down. That's not progress. That's called regress. And it's a scam. It's not capitalism. It doesn't produce that. If it's true, honest capitalism, it's played like a game, a fair game. It's actually just a series of games. But if it's got to be played fairly, where the rules apply equally. So it's a game we all get to gamble, but it always comes our way eventually because of the law of odds, right? So everybody gets recognized. Everybody has a semblance of dignity and respect for whatever services they provide to society. They can choose day by day and change up at any time they want if they want to do something differently. But it's all up to the individual. That's the way God wants it. The way God wants it is the way it's going to be. So we got to all decide that, first of all, that the world of tomorrow is vastly different from this one. Okay? It's a dramatic and profound sea change we're talking about here. When God's will is finally established upon the earth, it's going to be so different. I mean, even death is swallowed up in victory. That's a beautiful thing. What Christ proved on the cross when He was here and walked the earth, raising the dead, God's got that wanton power, belongs to Him alone. He's the sovereign, almighty creator God. We are His rightful property. The relationship is like that of the pottery and the potter. We're the pottery, and he's a potter. We're just living biological pottery. But he has every right to destroy us at will and recycle the material. It just wasn't working out, so he puts people, he's going to separate us. That's at the end of the age. That's what's coming. Jesus talked long and hard about this. This is where it all leads and adds up. It's a big deal. Yeah, people say, that's wild, you're crazy. Nothing like that could ever happen. Look at history. There's been cataclysmic events. There's been mind-boggling celestial events recorded in symbols. Okay, so it does happen. There is other beings, higher beings. God has that power and authority. And when he draws a line in the sand, he calls it a day, that's it. When he, like Popeye, he took all he could take, can't take no more, and that's when he returns. And he comes back with this array, this myriad of angels of every sort, and these beings have the power to separate the wicked from the righteous. That's it. So no more are the righteous being bullied around by these wicked people. They're going to that proverbial place called hell, Hades, whatever you want to believe. Look, it's a different place. It's the bullies being separated from the righteous. Okay, that's it. God draws a line. That day is closing in, and God wishes none to perish, but all to come to repentance. So I'm speaking to all those wicked people that say, hey, you know what? I still think that the bad guy is going to win this. Look at the evidence. Yeah, it doesn't look good, does it? It's always darkest before the dawn, like they say. So it's coming because I'm starting to see some relief. And that's only by the very finger, the hand of God, that people are standing up and uniting and saying, screw this political division that's been invented by these politicians at the top who are in lockstep with each other on the issues that betray the best interests of the American people, i.e. the bailout of '08, a perfect example. All right. So, yeah, all the benefits of just ending poverty, desperate poverty. If there's no need, why have it? I mean, what kind of an a-hole, feckless pustule of a human being are you? If I'm not speaking to you, if you're not that, then, of course, you're not listening. But to tell me that people don't have a right to share in this planet's wealth, the resources, okay? Don't be a feckless pustule. When you see all the benefits, I mean, crime plummeting, nobody worried about their jobs going to automation or being laid off because they lose relevance, because right now the vast majority of jobs revolve around the problem persisting. The social welfare industrial complex would disappear overnight. Think of all those people looking for something to do. Talk about volunteerism being big. Holy cow, could you imagine all these people that are prosperous because that's the new paradigm from birth, cradle to grave. You're rich, thus saith the Lord. That's the way he wants it. That's the way it's going to be. You understand what a departure that is? So think outside the box, way outside the box, through God's point of view, and see where this thing leads. So we cut out the middleman, no more need for a social welfare system. Vast majority of crime goes, that's lawyers and everybody else in the court system, judges and court clerks, et cetera, jailers, on and on, law enforcement officers, all that stuff. Talk about people looking for stuff to do. The dubious war. Now that I want to distinguish a dubious war from a righteous war. Kicking Hitler's butt, a righteous war. Yeah, that's good. Got to do that sometimes. But when it comes to these ones where we got all these guys coming home and taking their own lives, something's wrong with that picture. That didn't happen in the greatest generation. We didn't see that. Okay, so that's a new phenomenon. That's the kind of dubious war I'm talking about, putting an end to. Okay, where people are enlisting because the financial perks to enlisting. That shouldn't be the case, you understand? Because a man is a righteous and godly man. That's the only kind of man you want fighting these battles, okay, of his own free will and accord, that's educated on why he's fighting it and what he wants as an end result. And that he's against violence as much as possible. He wants to solve this, this conflict as peaceably as possible, but willing to use force if that's what the enemy is using. So, that's it. I'm a pacifist, but I'm a logical pacifist, not a coward. And then this national debt. Once you've got sound economic policy, sound currency, and the people decide, we want the debt paid. We want an end to this. We don't want this monkey on our back anymore. So we've got to get rid of that. And you couldn't if you couldn't harm the poor anymore. See, that's how the debt would automatically, whoop, poof. Oh, there's no more debt because everybody is doing fine. No individual, nobody's borrowing. Nobody needs to go in debt. You understand? So that dries up. The abortion dries up. You understand? Traffic on the freeways dries up. No more need. People aren't freaked out and stressed out getting jobs and they're miserable to go to. All that would end. So all these people, all this workforce, can you imagine all this man and woman power out there? And if we were doing useful stuff, we'd be lucky if we got to work 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week max. So is it anybody's problem to decide what you do with your time, how you recreate, how you play and frolic on God's green earth? No, it's every individual's problem then. You understand? So there's so many people now, they're so plugged into their jobs, they'd go stark raving mad if they ever lost their job. They would not know what to do with all that time. They'd be lost, man. So that, you understand what I'm talking about? How this would be is traumatic. When you see the light, you see what a huge, profound departure it is from the current, what we've been taught norms, what we've been trained to believe, inculcated over decades. Since the last big changes, I mean, it's been a long time since America saw hope like in JFK, given a sound economic policy. He was an egalitarian. He was a good American. He was a capitalist, a true capitalist, wanted to play the game fair. You would have seen universal prosperity in America, and by extension, the rest of the world by now. And the system would have been working better than fine, mind-blowingly fine, all over the world. Okay, you can't stop the wheels of society when you've got a huge volunteer force out there willing to serve. And wild horses can stop them. That's the reality, my friends. So, like I said, it's encouraging that really the finger of the hand of God really might be starting to move. The rubber might be starting to meet the road here in California with these warming centers. Like I said, that's music to my ears. I'm so glad to hear that. Comfort these people. I mean, you know, this desperate poverty is like a wound on the collective body of society. And we're not binding it up where it's hemorrhaging, okay? We're healing those that are already healed, like the bailout of '08, you know, these criminals that stole from us, okay? This is how they stole, the dilution of the currency. Your money's worth less, and we're told it's good because the value of your house went up. It's so stupid. You know, we get into so much stupid thinking, stinking thinking, that we don't know capitalism. This isn't capitalism. It's not fair. The rules aren't fair. It's a rigged game. And only select special interest groups have benefited at the cost of other people's detriment. And people are finding out it's the majority of Americans' detriment at this point. And that's when, you know, the critical mass, I mean, when people start getting enlightened, they demand change, they get change. When you demand not to be tyrannized, that's when you get some relief. And we might be starting to see it. And Trump could be acting behind the scenes. I don't know what's really going on. And that's why I voted for him, because he said he was ashamed of homelessness in America. And that was it, man. I was like a fish. I was hooked. And I voted for him for that one reason. So I hope he is doing something behind the scenes. And I'll vote for him again if I get wind that he is breathing down the necks of governors. And the governors are breathing down the necks of mayors and on in that theme. You understand how this thing has to work? So it comes from the top. It's not a grassroots thing in the sense that you're going to make change. I mean, they've got all kinds of reasons. Look, they've got all special interest groups. It's political, not political Democrat, Republican, the worst kind of political, having everything to do with money. You understand? They don't want affordable housing because that means that's competition. They don't want competition. They want to be able to rig, fix prices, manipulate markets, tell people there's a housing shortage, when really there isn't. I mean, you got enough money, I'll find you 100 houses right here in Chico, even though, oh no, it's a seller's market now, and the prices are high, and people are bidding, and yeah, they'll puff it up and tell you all this crap. I know the business. I know where I have my real estate license. I know the game. Okay, it's all fraud, up one side, down the other. We've got a huge surplus of housing. I've done my own research. You can house every homeless man, woman, and child in America and still have 90% of the vacant available housing left over, not including hotels and motels. Do you understand? So I know what I'm talking about here. It's just baloney, but it's political in the worst sense on a grassroots level. Everybody's got an interest in high housing costs. Not everybody. I mean, half the people do, half don't, right? I mean, you got to understand that there's a direct correlation, a tie-in between the cost people pay for houses to buy or purchase a home and the price people pay for rent. A direct correlation. There's no, you can't deny that. I know that. I'm an educated man. I know that's a fact. That's the way it works in this. But all these investors, I mean, they're all out there penciling stuff in. Well, I got to get a few more bucks, so I got to raise my rent. Come on, help me out here. So they collude on that level where it's, hey, you got to keep up with peers. You got to be respected in your field, your industry. If you're a real estate agent or you're a lender, I mean, these people wine and dine together. We're, hey, yeah, it's in our interest to drive prices up, puff stuff, and tell everybody there's a shortage and driving up prices so everybody makes more, and then the government goes along with these schemes silently when they're culpable for that. They're not doing nothing. They're not educating the public.